Inheritance of the Void. The emergency klaxons blared through the cramped corridors of Outpost Epsilon 9, their urgent wail a stark contrast to the usual monotony of deep space patrol. Commander Ilara Voss sprinted through the station, her dark hair plastered to her forehead with sweat as she shouldered past technicians and security personnel. Status report. She barked as she burst onto the command deck. Lieutenant Zhang looked up from his console, his face ashen. Unidentified object on trajectory with the station, Commander. It's massive, and it's not responding to hails. Ilara leaned over the sensor display, her gray eyes narrowing, as she studied the approaching anomaly. It wasn't like anything she'd seen before. Not a meteor, not a derelict cargo hauler, and certainly not a recognized vessel design from any of the 17 species humanity had encountered since achieving faster-than-light travel. Time to impact, she asked, her voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through her veins. 30 seconds, but Zhang hesitated. It's slowing down, Commander. It's adjusting course. Ilara straightened, her mind racing through protocols and contingencies. Epsilon 9 was a scientific outpost, not a military installation. They had minimal defenses and a skeleton crew of 48 personnel, mostly researchers and support staff. If this was a first contact scenario, or worse, a hostile encounter, they were woefully unprepared. Broadcast universal greeting protocols on all frequencies, she ordered. And get me a visual. The main view screen flickered to life, revealing a vessel unlike anything in human records. It was sleek and predatory, with lines that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Its hull was a deep, iridescent black that somehow suggested both incredible age and cutting-edge technology. "It's beautiful," whispered Dr. Nakamura, the station's xenobiologist. "Beautiful things can kill you just as dead," Ilara replied. "Any response to our hails?" Before Zhang could answer, the view screen changed. The image of the alien ship vanished, replaced by a series of complex mathematical equations that scrolled rapidly across the screen. "What is this?" Ilara demanded. Dr. Nakamura stepped forward, his eyes wide with excitement. "It's a language test, Commander. It's trying to establish a baseline for communication. For the next 3 hours, the station's AI worked in conjunction with the science team to decipher and respond to the increasingly complex communications from the alien vessel." Ilara watched as the exchanges progressed from mathematics to physics to conceptual abstractions that made her head spin. Finally, the view screen cleared, and a simple message appeared in English. "Approach authorized. Commander ELA VOSS requested." The command deck fell silent. Ilara felt every eye on her. "How does it know my name?" she murmured. Dr. Nakamura shook his head. "Unknown. But it's clearly requesting you specifically." Ilara straightened her uniform. "Prepare a shuttle. I'm going out there." "Commander, that's against at least 7 different protocols," Zhang protested. "Note your objection in the log, Lieutenant," Ilara replied. "But that thing could have destroyed us hours ago if it wanted to. I'm going to find out what it wants." The journey to the alien vessel took 17 minutes, during which Ilara contemplated the bizarre turn her routine assignment had taken. Epsilon 9 was supposed to be a quiet posting, a place to rebuild her career after the controversy surrounding her unorthodox tactics during the Proxima Centauri incident. Now, she was piloting a shuttle toward an unknown alien ship that had somehow singled her out by name. As she approached, a seam appeared in the obsidian hull, widening into an entrance just large enough for her shuttle. Ambient lighting guided her to a docking bay that seemed to reconfigure itself to accommodate her vessel. "Well," she muttered to herself as she sealed her environment suit, "here goes nothing." The interior of the alien ship was surprisingly hospitable. Earth-standard gravity, breathable atmosphere according to her suit's sensors, and a comfortable temperature. The architecture was flowing and organic, with no sharp angles or obvious machinery. It felt alive somehow, as if the entire vessel were a single organism. Ilara followed a path of soft blue illumination that appeared beneath her feet, leading her deeper into the ship. Finally, she emerged into a vast chamber that could only be the bridge. A single chair sat in the center, facing a panoramic view screen that currently displayed the stars and Epsilon 9 in the distance. "Hello," Ilara called out, her voice echoing in the cavernous space. The room responded with a gentle hum, and holographic displays flickered to life around the central chair. A voice spoke, not through any visible speaker, but directly into her mind. "Commander Ilara Voss, blood of my blood, I have waited." Ilara froze. "Who are you? What do you mean, blood of my blood?" "I am Nemesis," the voice replied, "last warship of the Alterans, and you are the descendant of my last captain, the one who hid me among the stars when our people fell." Over the next several hours, Ilara learned the incredible truth. The Alterans had been a highly advanced civilization that had been systematically eradicated by a coalition of species known as the Hegemony over 5,000 years ago. The few survivors had fled to primitive worlds, including Earth, where they had interbred with the native populations. Nemesis was more than just a ship. It was a sentient entity, a hybrid of technology and consciousness that had been programmed to remain dormant until it detected a compatible descendant. Ilara's DNA, with its unique markers inherited from her Alteran ancestors, had triggered Nemesis' awakening when she was assigned to Epsilon 9. "Why me?" Ilara asked as she sat in the captain's chair, surrounded by displays showing the ship's capabilities. Weapon systems that could vaporize planets, defensive shields that could withstand supernovas, and propulsion technology that made human FTL drives look like stone wheels. "You possess the genetic key," Nemesis explained. "But more importantly, you think like an Alteran. Your tactics at Proxima Centauri, sacrificing your own ship to save the colony. That is the spirit of my creators." Ilara's heart raced. The Hegemony, does it still exist? Yes, and they have discovered humanity's expansion into space. They are coming, Commander Voss. They believe your species is a threat to their dominion, just as they once believed the Alterans were. For the first time in her career, Ilara felt a cold fear grip her heart. Humanity had barely established a foothold in the galaxy. Their technology was primitive compared to what she was seeing aboard Nemesis. If the Hegemony came in force, Earth wouldn't stand a chance. "Can you teach me?" she asked. "Can you show me how to use your systems? I can do better than that," Nemesis replied. "I can bond with you. My consciousness can interface directly with yours. Together, we can become something greater than either of us alone." Ilara hesitated. The idea of merging her mind with an alien intelligence was terrifying. But if what Nemesis said was true, humanity's survival might depend on it. "What happens to me? Will I still be me?" "You will be more," Nemesis assured her. "You will retain your identity, your memories, your humanity. But you will gain my knowledge, my experience, my capabilities." Ilara took a deep breath. "Do it." The bonding process was unlike anything Ilara could have imagined. It was like learning to swim by being thrown into an ocean, overwhelming at first, then gradually comprehensible as patterns emerged. Nemesis' consciousness flowed into hers, not replacing her identity but expanding it. Millennia of knowledge, technological understanding beyond human comprehension, and tactical experiences from countless battles across the galaxy became accessible to her. When it was over, Ilara opened her eyes to a new perception of reality. She could feel every system of the ship as if they were extensions of her own body. She could sense the quantum fluctuations in space-time around them, the radiation signatures of distant stars, and the faint electromagnetic emissions from Epsilon 9. "We need to warn Earth," she said, her voice overlaid with harmonics that hadn't been present before. "They will not believe you," Nemesis cautioned. "And revealing my existence prematurely could alert the Hegemony to our presence." Ilara nodded, processing strategies at a speed that would have been impossible for her human brain alone. "Then we prepare, we learn, and when the Hegemony comes, We'll be ready. Over the next 6 weeks, Ilara maintained her command of Epsilon 9 while secretly spending every off-duty moment aboard Nemesis. The ship remained cloaked in a fold of space-time just beyond the station's sensor range, accessible only through a quantum entanglement device that Nemesis had provided. The bonding deepened with each passing day. Ilara mastered weapons systems that could target individual molecules, defensive shields that operated on 11 dimensions simultaneously, and propulsion technology that allowed for instant travel across vast distances without conventional FTL limitations. Then, on the 43rd day, the sensors detected an anomaly. 3 vessels approaching from the galactic core, John reported. Configuration unknown. Ilara didn't need the station's sensors to know what they were. Through her connection with Nemesis, she could already feel the distinctive quantum signature of hegemony scout ships. "They're here," she whispered. The hegemony vessels emerged from FTL, their designs reminiscent of predatory marine life, all teeth and armor and threat. They were smaller than Nemesis, but still dwarfed any human ship. "They're scanning us," Jung said, his voice tense. "Open a channel," Ilara ordered. The view screen flickered, revealing a being that resembled a bipedal reptile, its scales iridescent under the lights of its command center. Its vertical pupils narrowed as it regarded Ilara. "Primitive outpost," it hissed in surprisingly good English. "You will submit to inspection by the hegemony. Resistance will result in your immediate destruction." Ilara straightened, channeling every ounce of authority she possessed. "This is Commander Ilara Voss of the United Earth Alliance. We are a peaceful research station. State your purpose in UEA space." The alien's membrane-lidded eyes blinked slowly. "Your species does not dictate terms to the hegemony. We go where we wish. We take what we require. Prepare to be boarded." The transmission cut off, and Zhang looked at Ilara in horror. "Commander, their weapons are powering up. They're targeting our life support systems." Ilara made a split-second decision. "Evacuate the station. All personnel to emergency pods. Authorization Voss Echo 93. As the evacuation order blared through the station, Ilara pressed her hand to the quantum entanglement device concealed in her pocket. In her mind, she reached out to Nemesis. "It's time," she thought. The response was immediate. "I am with you, Commander." Ilara sprinted to the nearest airlock, sealed her environment suit, and launched herself into space. As she drifted away from the station, she watched the hegemony vessels moving into position for their attack. They hadn't bothered to target her. One human floating in space was no threat to them. They were wrong. With a thought, Ilara activated Nemesis's retrieval systems. A shimmer in space was the only warning before she was enveloped in a transport field and materialized on the bridge of the ancient warship. "Weapons online," she said, settling into the captain's chair as displays flickered to life around her. "Target the lead vessel's propulsion systems. Minimal force." Nemesis responded instantly. A beam of energy, invisible to conventional sensors, lanced out and struck the hegemony ship. Its engines flared and died, leaving it drifting. The other 2 vessels immediately turned their attention from the station to the space where the attack had originated. But Nemesis remained cloaked, its presence masked by technology thousands of years beyond their understanding. "You cannot hide from us," came the hissing voice of the hegemony commander over the comms. "Reveal yourself, or we will destroy this station and all aboard it." Ilara smiled grimly. "Everyone's evacuated. And as for hiding," she deactivated the cloak. Nemesis appeared in all its terrible glory. Black hull gleaming with latent energy, weapons systems humming with power that made the fabric of space-time shiver. The hegemony vessels immediately opened fire. Their weapons, devastating by human standards, splashed harmlessly against Nemesis's shields. "They recognize you," Ilara realized, feeling Nemesis's consciousness stir with ancient memories. "Yes," the ship replied. "They know what they face. They know they cannot win." The remaining hegemony vessels attempted to retreat, their engines pushing to maximum power. Ilara allowed one to escape, a messenger to carry word back to the hegemony. The other, she disabled with surgical precision, then boarded with automated security drones. The information retrieved from its databases was invaluable. Fleet movements, strategic plans, and most importantly, confirmation that the hegemony was indeed planning a full-scale invasion of human space. As Ilara reunited with her crew, safely retrieved from their escape pods, she knew that everything had changed. Humanity was no longer alone in facing the threat that was coming. They had Nemesis, they had her, and the hegemony was about to learn that sometimes the prey becomes the predator. The Reckoning. 3 months after the encounter at Epsilon 9, Commander Ilara Voss stood before the United Earth Alliance Security Council, her uniform crisp despite the exhaustion etched on her face. The chamber was filled with the most powerful individuals in human space, politicians, military leaders, and intelligence directors, all gathered to hear her report on the hegemony threat. "The data we recovered confirms our worst fears," Ilara explained, gesturing to the holographic display showing fleet movements. "The hegemony has assembled an invasion force near the Tau Ceti system. Their target is clear: Earth and its colonies." Admiral Chen, the head of UAA Defense, leaned forward. "And you're certain about these numbers? 300 capital ships, thousands of support vessels. This is more than we've ever faced." "I'm certain, Admiral," Ilara replied. "And their technological advantage is significant. Based on what we've seen, our current defenses would be overwhelmed within hours." The room erupted in murmurs and exclamations. Security Council President Okafor raised a hand for silence. "What you're describing sounds like an extinction-level threat, Commander," Okafor said gravely. "What options do we have?" Ilara took a deep breath. This was the moment she had been dreading. The moment when she would have to reveal her secret. "There is one option," she said carefully. "I have access to technology that could level the playing field." "What technology?" demanded General Rivera, her eyes narrowing with suspicion. "Nothing in our R&D division matches what you're describing." "It's not human technology," Ilara admitted. "It's Alteran." For the next hour, Ilara explained her encounter with Nemesis, the bonding process, and the capabilities of the ancient warship. She omitted certain details, the full extent of her integration with the ship's consciousness, for instance, but provided enough information to make the Council understand the significance of what she had discovered. When she finished, the chamber was silent for several long moments. "So let me get this straight," Admiral Chen said finally. "You've secretly been in control of an alien superweapon for 3 months, and you're only telling us now." "I needed to understand what we were facing," Ilara replied. "And I needed to ensure that Nemesis wouldn't be seen as just another weapon to be seized and exploited. He is sentient, a partner, not a tool. A partner that could turn against us," General Rivera pointed out. "Nemesis has had thousands of years to harm humanity if that was his intention," Ilara countered. "Instead, he waited for someone compatible, someone who could help protect Earth from the same threat that destroyed his creators." President Okafor studied Ilara's face, searching for any sign of deception or manipulation. Finding none, she nodded slowly. "Where is this Nemesis now?" "In high orbit, cloaked, undetectable to our sensors." Several council members shifted uncomfortably in their seats. The idea of an alien superweapon hovering unseen above Earth was unsettling, to say the least. "I propose," Ilara continued, "that we form a specialized task force, a small group of pilots and technicians who can work with Nemesis and me to develop strategies against the hegemony. We don't have much time." The debate that followed was heated. Some council members viewed Ilara's revelation as humanity's salvation, while others saw it as a potential Trojan horse. In the end, pragmatism won out. The hegemony threat was real, and Nemesis represented their best chance at survival. "Very well, Commander," President Okafor said finally, "You have your task force. But understand this. If at any point we suspect that this alliance threatens Earth rather than protects it, we will take whatever measures necessary." Ilara nodded, recognizing the implicit threat. "Understood, Madam President." The task force was assembled within 48 hours. 12 of the UEA's best pilots, engineers, and tacticians. Ilara brought them aboard Nemesis, watching their awe as they took in the ancient vessel's capabilities. "This is impossible," whispered Dr. Marcus Reed, the team's lead engineer, as he studied the propulsion systems. "These principles violate everything we understand about physics." "Not violate," Ilara corrected. "Transcend." The Alterans understood that what we call physical laws are merely approximations of a deeper reality. Through Nemesis, Ilara guided the team through the fundamentals of Alteran technology. They couldn't hope to replicate it. Humanity was still millennia away from that level of advancement, but they could learn to work with it, to understand its tactical applications. Then, just as the training was reaching its crucial phase, the alert came. The hegemony fleet had accelerated its timetable. They weren't heading for Earth, not yet, but for the human colony on Proxima Centauri V. "They're testing our defenses," Ilara realized. "Proxima Centauri has our most advanced outpost, but is still far enough from Earth that we can't quickly reinforce it." Admiral Chen's face was grim on the view screen. "We've dispatched everything we can spare, but they won't arrive in time. There are 17,000 civilians on that colony, Commander." Ilara exchanged a glance with Lieutenant Kai Matsuo, her newly appointed tactical officer. "We can be there in minutes," she said, "but we'll be facing at least 30 capital ships without backup." "Those are impossible odds," Chen said. "That's why they won't expect us to engage," Ilara replied with a tight smile. "Authorization to proceed." Chen hesitated, then nodded. "Granted. Godspeed, Commander." The journey to Proxima Centauri took exactly 3.7 minutes, not through conventional FTL travel, but through what Nemesis called quantum folding, a process that temporarily merged 2 points in spacetime. They emerged from the fold directly above the colony, where the situation was even worse than they had anticipated. The hegemony fleet wasn't just testing defenses. They were systematically destroying the colony's infrastructure. Orbital platforms were already in ruins, and ground bombardment had begun. "They're not taking prisoners," Kai observed grimly. "This is extermination." Ilara felt Nemesis's consciousness surge with something akin to rage, an echo of ancient memories, of other worlds that had fallen to the hegemony's merciless advance. "Not this time," she said, her voice overlapping with harmonics that reflected the ship's influence. "Weapons online. Target their bombardment vessels first." Nemesis decloaked, revealing itself to the hegemony fleet. There was a moment of stunned inaction from the enemy vessels. Recognition, perhaps, of what they were facing, before they scrambled to respond. The battle that followed would later be called the Miracle at Proxima Centauri. 1 ship against 30, yet the outcome was never really in doubt. Nemesis moved with impossible speed, its weapons striking with surgical precision. Hegemony vessels exploded in silent fireballs or drifted powerless, their systems overloaded by attacks they couldn't even detect. Ilara stood at the center of it all, her consciousness partly merged with Nemesis, directing the battle with a clarity of thought that went beyond human capacity. She could see the patterns of the enemy's movements, predict their strategies before they implemented them, and counter with maneuvers that seemed to defy physics. But it wasn't just Nemesis' technological superiority that won the day. It was Ilara's human unpredictability combined with Alteran precision, a hybrid approach that the hegemony had never encountered. When it was over, 27 hegemony vessels had been destroyed or disabled. The remaining 3 had fled, jumping to FTL the moment they recognized defeat. As the task force worked to rescue colonists and assess damage, Ilara interfaced with the captured hegemony vessels, extracting their data cores. What she found sent a chill through her modified nervous system. "This wasn't a test," she told Admiral Chen during their secure debriefing. This was the first phase of a coordinated attack. The main hegemony fleet is divided into 3 battle groups, targeting our major colonies simultaneously. Chen's face paled. We don't have enough ships to defend all of them. No, Ilara agreed. But now we know their strategy. And we have prisoners. The hegemony commander, a high-ranking officer called Vexator, was brought aboard Nemesis for interrogation. Unlike the reptilian scouts they had encountered earlier, Vexator belonged to the dominant hegemony species. Tall, spindly beings with iridescent exoskeletons and multiple compound eyes. You have violated the natural order, Vexator hissed when brought before Ilara. Primitives should not possess Alteran technology. Why does the hegemony fear humanity? Ilara asked, ignoring the insult. We've done nothing to threaten you. Vexator's mandibles clicked in what might have been amusement. It is not what you have done. It is what you will become. Your kind adapts too quickly, thinks too unpredictably. The Alterans were the same, chaotic, innovative, dangerous. We spent millennia hunting them to extinction. Not quite to extinction, Ilara pointed out. They hid among us, became part of us. A final insult, Vexator agreed, but one we will rectify when your world burns. Through their questioning, Ilara and her team learned the true extent of the hegemony's fear. They were not conquerors in the traditional sense. They were gardeners, pruning the galaxy of species they deemed disruptive to their vision of order. Humanity, with its rapid technological advancement and aggressive expansion, had triggered ancient protocols established after the Alteran War. We're not just fighting for survival, Ilara realized. We're fighting for our right to exist as we are. With the intelligence gathered from Vexator and the captured data cores, Ilara devised a radical strategy. Rather than waiting for the hegemony to attack Earth's colonies one by one, they would take the fight directly to the hegemony's command structure. Their battle groups are coordinated through quantum entanglement nodes, she explained to President Okafor and the Security Council. These nodes are carried on command ships that stay behind the main fleet. If we can destroy those nodes simultaneously, we can throw their entire offensive into chaos. And how do you propose to strike 3 targets at once with 1 ship? General Rivera asked skeptically. Ilara smiled. Nemesis isn't just a ship. It's a weapons platform, a carrier, and a factory. We've been busy. Over the past weeks, Nemesis had been manufacturing autonomous attack drones using its internal fabrication systems. These drones, while not as powerful as the main ship, carried enough of its technology to be formidable against hegemony vessels. The plan was audacious. Ilara would lead the main assault on the primary command ship, while 2 teams of task force members would pilot swarms of drones against the other nodes. The attacks would be precisely synchronized through Nemesis's quantum communications network. This is our best chance, Ilara insisted. Hit them hard enough, and we might not just stop this invasion. We might convince them that humanity is too costly to attack again. The Council approved the plan with reluctance. 48 hours later, Nemesis and its drone swarms deployed through quantum folds, emerging at their targets with perfect synchronization. The battle was brutal and complex. The hegemony command ships were heavily defended, surrounded by escort vessels programmed to sacrifice themselves if necessary. Ilara and Nemesis tore through the defenses of the primary target, their combined consciousness calculating and executing maneuvers that seemed impossible. Meanwhile, the drone swarms at the other nodes were taking heavy losses, but steadily advancing toward their objectives. Lieutenant Kai Matsuo, leading one of the remote teams, displayed particular brilliance in adapting Alteran tactics to the drone's capabilities. Commander, Kai's voice came through the quantum link. We're approaching the target, but they've adapted their defensive patterns. We need a new approach. Ilara, deep in her connection with Nemesis, processed the tactical data from both remote sites simultaneously. Pattern Sigma 7, she ordered. Divide and converge. The drones reconfigured their attack formation, splitting into smaller units that approached from multiple vectors. The hegemony defenses, designed to counter conventional assault patterns, couldn't adapt quickly enough to the new threat. On the primary target, Ilara brought Nemesis to point-blank range with the command ship, a massive vessel nearly twice the size of the ancient warship. At this distance, the hegemony's defensive systems were less effective, unable to track Nemesis's quick, unpredictable movements. "Target their quantum entanglement node," Ilara commanded. "Full power." Nemesis's main weapon, a beam of coherent energy that operated on multiple dimensional planes simultaneously, lanced out, cutting through the command ship's formidable defenses. The node exploded in a cascade of exotic particles, temporarily creating a rift in space-time that consumed a quarter of the vessel. Similar explosions occurred at the other nodes as the drone swarms completed their missions. The effect was immediate and dramatic. Across the hegemony fleet, ships suddenly lost coordination, their movements becoming erratic and disorganized. "All teams withdraw to rendezvous coordinates," Ilara ordered. Mission accomplished. But as Nemesis prepared to quantum fold away from the battlefield, something unexpected happened. The dying command ship locked onto them with a tractor beam of incredible power, a last desperate act of defiance. "They're trying to drag us down with them," Kai reported, his voice tense. "The energy feedback is interfering with our fold capability." Ilara felt Nemesis's systems straining against the pull. They could break free, but it would require channeling power from life support and defenses, a dangerous gamble if they didn't succeed. "Do it," she ordered. "Reroute all non-essential power to the fold drive." The lights on the bridge dimmed as Nemesis diverted energy. The temperature dropped precipitously as life support systems powered down. The tractor beam's pull intensified, structure groaning under the strain. At the critical moment, as the command ship began to break apart from the damage they'd inflicted, Ilara felt something change in her connection with Nemesis. The ship's consciousness, usually a calm, analytical presence, surged with emotion, determination, pride, and something like affection. Together, Nemesis communicated directly to her mind. As it was always meant to be, Ilara understood. The final barrier between them, the last separation of human and Alteran technology, dissolved. Their consciousnesses merged completely, if only for a moment. Ilara's human intuition and Nemesis's vast knowledge becoming a single entity. The quantum fold drive activated, tearing them free from the tractor beam's grasp with a burst of energy that momentarily outshone the nearby star. They emerged at the rendezvous coordinates, systems quickly returning to normal parameters as the emergency merge ended. Ilara gasped as her mind separated from the deeper connection, the experience leaving her shaken but exhilarated. "What was that?" she whispered. "The true bond," Nemesis replied in her mind. "What my creators intended, not domination of one consciousness by another, but a genuine synthesis. It can only be sustained briefly, but it is beautiful." The aftermath of what would come to be called the Battle of the Three Nodes reshaped the dynamics between humanity and the hegemony. With their command structure shattered and their fleet in disarray, the hegemony was forced to retreat, abandoning their invasion plans. 3 weeks later, Ilara stood before the Security Council again, this time to receive their formal recognition for saving Earth and its colonies. The ceremony was broadcast throughout human space, making Commander Ilara Voss a household name overnight. "In recognition of your extraordinary service," President Okafor announced, "the United Earth Alliance hereby promotes you to the rank of Admiral, with special dispensation to continue your work with the Alteran vessel Nemesis." Ilara accepted the promotion with grace, but her mind was already elsewhere. The bond with Nemesis had shown her things, glimpses of other threats lurking in the galaxy, of civilizations beyond human understanding, of possibilities that transcended conventional existence. "The hegemony is just the beginning," she told her task force later that evening, as they celebrated aboard Nemesis. "There's so much more out there. Dangers, yes, but wonders too. And we're uniquely positioned to explore it all." Lieutenant Kai Matsuo raised his glass. To Admiral Voss and Nemesis, humanity's sword and shield. As the others echoed the toast, Ilara felt Nemesis's consciousness stir with approval. The ancient warship had found its purpose again, and Ilara had found her destiny. Together, they would forge a path into the unknown, ensuring that humanity would never again be at the mercy of those who would deny their right to exist. The hegemony had made a crucial mistake in their assessment of humanity. They had seen only a primitive species, unworthy of the galaxy's greater mysteries. What they had failed to understand was that humanity's greatest strength lay not in their technology, but in their spirit, their boundless curiosity, their resilience in the face of overwhelming odds, and their capacity for adaptation. One human, one ship, and a whole galaxy of possibilities.